Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hey. Hi, my name's Regan Forston, and this is Natasha Venter, as you can see on the screen. We're in our third week now of the new title for our show called Dance of Soul. And in the show, we talk about the journey of us as souls in this lifetime and others, and to help us give a higher, bigger perspective of why we're here, what we're doing, and what we can do to add to humanity. So we talk about anything from, relationships to past lives. We talk about the things that mediums do, which Natasha is very good at. And also, I'm hoping that some of the people watching the show at one point may decide to have me help them have the experience of having a life between life session. I work for the Newton Institute. I'm one of the 215 therapists in 46 countries. And so we do this worldwide now. And what we do is we help people achieve a deep state of trance, which almost anyone can do. And in that state, we have discovered that everybody can visit past lives. And better than that, we've discovered that you can actually visit the place that you go in between lives. Some people call it heaven or the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. It's quite phenomenal, but we've helped over 65,000 people do it so far. And about 90% of the people that attempt it are able to. So on the other hand, and Natasha does the same thing, but in a different way. Matter of fact, we found out that the two best ways of dealing with heaven or figuring out things from the afterlife or communicating with people that have passed on or our guides or angels is either through mediumship, which Natasha takes care of, or through hypnosis, which I take care of. So in watching the show, if you have any questions, we want you to just chime in. You just can type in your questions there on the computer and we'll be happy to answer them. Or if you want Natasha to give you like a little mini reading, or if you have one particular issue, she could maybe help you on that. We're just here for you, and we're all, including ourselves, hoping to get another notch up the ladder today on our self-awareness. So Natasha, how you doing today?
I am doing really well, and I apologize if I have a dog that barks in the background here. I'm at my girlfriend's house down in California
Uh,
still, heading home this Thursday. So he's kind of protective because she's, here. So he gets in protective mode. So I apologize if he barks. I'm doing really well. I know we just had a full moon this last Friday,
oh, it was beautiful.
wasn't it? And it really tossed a lot of people around. And I want everybody to know that any full moon, new moon, middle moon, whatever, the moon's going to affect us. And it's an amazing dance when you just kind of just say, I attune to the energies of the moon. I attune to the energies of life. And when we do that, that helps. I know for me, it kind of tossed me around just a little bit, but it was a good thing. I don't mind. So, we're all kind of opening up. I know that a lot of us are feeling things that we didn't feel, going through different things, and it's the energies there. I know for me personally that I worked on my chakras the other day and clearing them up because the main chakras that people talk about get kind of clogged, and I'm having some digestive issues, and so I'll clean my chakra out. Well, guess what? That's starting to help out. So we have all these things that are going on, and I just am wanting here to support people because I know that for me, in my mediumship, my intuitive personal awareness coaching, that I do help people through emotions. I help through a lot of different things, and as we go through life and as we manage through things, we can't do it alone. And that's why Regan and I really wanted to continue the show, even though it has a different name, even though it has a different aspect, but yet it still has us. And we are here to really support people going around. And I know, Regan, you've really done a lot of work with your emotions, what you've dealt with. So I love your perspective because there's times when we've talked about anger and you have the first realm of perspective of that being
Oh yeah,
yourself anger management. And
right.
I myself in a marriage where anger was part of the dance. I mean, my husband's a double Leo Libra, so it's like two roaring lion and then a Libra, which is wanting to balance the scales. So if things weren't balanced, he was roaring, and now he's doing better because of sobriety and that kind of. But we're all going through something. We all have our own stories, and it's just amazing how we do this. And we're in a few minutes here. We're going to be having a guest come on if she can. She said that she was going to be stepping away out of town, and so if she can get reception, she said she'd be here. So with that, we're all needing to dance with. That's why we call it the dance of the soul, because it's the dance of life. Sometimes we have a partner that doesn't work right. Sometimes we have music that doesn't quite work right, and that's where the balance and the love of finding those gifts can help us out. So, Regan, what have you come forth in this last week that would be good for people to? We didn't really get a chance because you, as either I run right in or you run right in. Life happens, and so we didn't really get a chance to talk about what we want to talk about for a few minutes. But knowing that we're going to have a guest, I know that it was just part of this getting us integrated into what's going on right now. And I just know that everyone has. I've just heard of so many people getting triggered by this COVID angst.
Yeah, there's a new worry beginning. I felt this week because of the variant,
Mm-hmm.
and I know of a few people that have gotten COVID, even though they've had their shots. But it only lasted like a day and a half, and it was just miserable for a day and a half. So the vaccination did its job, because it's not supposed to. It still says, you can still get it, but it's going to keep you from out of the hospital, keep it from getting worse,
Mm-hmm.
keep from getting too bad, that way. So, and this big thing about the mask thing, I mean, it almost is getting to me childish. I don't know what's the right word when you want to say something's childish. There's a term for it, but
immature.
Yeah, it's just so immature watching all these adults and everything fight about having to put on a mask. And so it's showing, to me, it's showing the selfish side of people, whether you believe in it or not.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough evidence out there that may be the right thing to do. And I would say it's one step better, whether you believe in it or not, but just to be polite to other people, to show them that you care about their health. If you don't care about your own health, okay, but this is a way we all can do. It's a little inconvenience. I mean, but what the heck? I mean, after a year, we should be used to this, and some people that refuse to wear masks, they still have to carry one, because if they go in a federal building, or like when I go in the post office, they require you to have one here,
Mm-hmm.
so you have to put it on sometimes. So what's the thing that it's been politicized, that in other words, if you're a Trump supporter, that you have to not wear a mask for some reason. I don't know. It's hard to understand what's going on, really, but I just tell people, just grow up and show some consideration to the people around you, because that's what we're doing, whether you believe in it or not, whether it's helping or not. It's just, I don't know. There's a lot of things in this lifetimes that, we fight against, that are little inconveniences. And sometimes you just have to do it,
Yeah, okay. Sometimes we're like me. I'm an only child, so people call me sometimes a spoiled only child. But it seems like there's a lot of people that are kind of in managing that. But and this is what I've been doing, because I agree that we should wear a mask. I cannot get vaccinated because of my body is so sensitive. That if I do something, like if I take a Benadryl, I can feel it 7 days later. And that's one pill. So
Yeah.
I can't, my body will not allow it to happen. So what I have done is that when I know I'm going into a big store and it does not seem crowded, I may not wear a mask, but I really keep my distance around from other people because I want them to stay safe. I also muscle test. Should I wear a mask in here? Yes or no? And so should I wear a mask where I'm at? No, because I'm in a room by myself. Yes. But should I wear a mask when I go out into stores? Yeah, kind of sometimes. So I
Yeah.
check in with, whenever I walk into a store, what is my greater health? What is the greater health for others? And I ask that question. For the health of others, should I wear a mask? For the health of myself, should I wear a mask? And like I'm talking about, like a Ross store where it's like there's maybe, 30 people in a room, in a building that is big, and is a big grocery store. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of people in there. So square footage wise, I feel safe enough to do that. So it's just being respectful and honorable, and not taking some of these crazy places. But I also know that people are getting other illnesses,
Yeah.
a cough or a cold, and what it used to be just simple, now they're going into this fear-based angst, that it's like even a cold is now turned deadly according to their minds.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that fear shouldn't be here, respect shouldn't be here. I just want to say though that please, if you can, I know that there's a lot of pregnant women out there right now. And I know for me, when I was pregnant with my first child and my dad passed away, I knew that the emotions that I carried would go into that child. And if it wasn't in the emotions, it was the hormones that
Yeah.
would get out of balance. And I'm just asking the women, if they can, just breathe, just be who they are. If they don't feel safe, don't go into a store. If they, just do what you can do to feel safe. But if you can, just be careful of the energies that you are with that child, because the child does navigate when we're carrying them. And I don't want to put fear in you because you've done something, but you can change it as you go by adding more love in your life, adding more happiness feelings in your life. So you're balancing those energies. So if I just wanted to toss that out there, that because I know with my second child, I didn't do as well because my mom was coming down with an illness. My dad had just died 3 years ago. It's like all these jobs. And I can tell the difference in the way my kids handle energies. And, shoulda, coulda, woulda, can't do. They were supposed to be who they were, but yet at the same time though, sometimes we have to be. I used my child when I was carrying him as a buffer, so I didn't dive straight into the depression that grief can get you,
Yeah.
so it kept me kind of doing the whoop-de-doo of grief, type of thing. And so I just wanted to toss that to someone, if they can, just if you can, if you're feeling angst or worry, try to fill it out with love and happiness.
Yeah.
Dance a little in your rooms if you need to. Put on something that brings joy into your life, so that the baby is feeling emotions, not emotion.
Yeah. Well,
It's, go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Let's for a minute. I know we've touched on this before, but let's talk about the womb. And matter of fact, if there are any um, uh, women watching this that are pregnant and would like to, I'd like to have, with this process we go through from the Newton Institute, we take people on the way to a past life. We have them experience being in their mother's womb. And
Hmm.
that just, it just blew me away how many people are successful in that and how easy it is. What I
Hmm.
do is I have them feel themselves getting younger and smaller and younger and smaller. I have them get to a point where I say, 1, 2, 3, you're now at the earliest memory that you have in your lifetime as who you are now. And then people bring back a memory, their earliest memory that they have, and then I say, okay, now you're getting younger and smaller and younger and smaller, younger and smaller, and I'll say 1, 2, 3, you're now in your mother's womb just before you were born. And it just surprises the heck out of me that people are there. And the first thing
Hmm.
I ask them, I say, is a little cramped in there, or can you move around? And I've had clients before, they're going like, oh man, I can't even move, and what we found out is that when soul is in the womb, it's in full consciousness, just like it was in heaven just before it came down into the womb.
Hmm.
The wall of forgetfulness doesn't happen until they come out of the womb, and the way we have designed things, or the way God's designed things, and then you forget what the heck everything's all about. You forget that you were already created in heaven, and this might be your 300th life, you know.
Yes.
Um, but it's so interesting. In the womb, I ask a lot of questions, and I get so much information as we're doing this research on the afterlife. And I'll ask them, I'll say, why did you choose this? The first thing I usually ask them is, how is your mom feeling? And they'll always know. They'll say, oh my
Hmm.
God, she's like anxious, or she doesn't want me. you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whoa, they know what their dad is feeling.
Yep.
Um, so women watching this that are pregnant, or if you're watching this and you're going to have a baby pretty soon, really know that your baby is in full consciousness it could be an advanced soul that you have in your body that you're going to have the privilege of and to be the mother of, to help that soul learn some experience. But that soul's here to teach you something too. you know it's going to be a two-way street there. um, but sometimes I'll ask them, okay, what's your mission? What do you hope to, just, you're right at the starting gate, you're just about to be born. Tell me what you hope to learn in this life. How are you going to help other people? Some people are anxious because they know their life's going to be really tough, that they picked a real doozy. And they're like, I don't know, I'm kind of anxious here because this life's
Yes.
going to be pretty hard. But it's so awesome that we can have learned this. And also, I'm just thinking of little things we've learned about the soul. Usually the souls say that on an average, they enter the womb at about when the mother's about 4 or 5 months along.
Mhm.
Some of it, there's always, I've had a couple that have said it was earlier than that. A couple, right, they come in just in time to be born.
Mhm.
So when you look at abortion, when you look at different things like this, it gives you more things to think about, when you're trying to figure out which side of the aisle you're on that. But it's amazing in this research. Now we've had 65,000 people do this, so we know quite a bit. We still, I'm sure we're learning things every day now. But when you have a child that's, in your womb there, talk to them, communicate with them, treat them as if they're a grown adult, watch what you do with your body. I mean, you're creating their body, and you can only build that body if you have the right nutrients inside. You have to eat right. You have to not be doing drugs, anything like that, because it'd be like being in an automobile factory and, what if you didn't have the headlights in
Yeah.
stock? You're going to have a car running around with no headlights. Well, the same thing, if you don't have the right nutrition, if you don't take care of your body, that you're going to have a baby that's going to be missing something. So it's really, really important.
Mhm. Well, and I know for me that, because I remember being born, I remember that process of, sitting up in the corner of the hospital room. And then,
Wow.
moments before my mom gave birth, I remember having the eyes seeing through my mom, going through the canal, and then popping up, and I can see the doctor's face wearing a white mask. He's a little bit heavier set, with the 60s hat. They used to wear hats, the
Hmm.
garment hat, and it was stark. I could see the nurse when I was up in the corner. I could see the nurse, the metal table next to my mom, laying there, and my dad wasn't in the room, because of the 60s, he wasn't allowed, So, and I know that just because I did see him. I saw a nurse, doctor, and there was one other nurse that would come and go.
Wow.
And so with that this is not necessarily a meditation. I know this, you know but I also remember writing my contract coming in, and I remember a lot of different things like that. So I know that I was with my mom off and on before birth, but
Yeah.
I came in right at birth, because I remember being where my head was still flimsy, that she picked me out of the crib, because I remember popping up and then seeing her face. So
Wow.
she picked up my head, so that I was young enough that my head wasn't strong enough yet. So that's usually because I had my own kids, 1 month,
Yeah.
somewhere in there, just baby born. So with that as we go forth, it's amazing what we do remember or know, and our souls are so they're record keepers. Our
Yeah.
soul is a record keeper. It's not our spirit that's the record keeper. It's our soul that is the record keeper.
Yeah. I'm leaving for Hollywood next week. I have an appointment with a documentary filmmaker, and he's heard about this process, and he wants me to put his wife through the process, who has some issues, some health issues, and that,
Mhm.
and I'm going to have him have a session too, because I said, well, if you're going to do a documentary on this, I want you to have the experience. So it's going to be
Mhm.
interesting to see, how that goes. But yeah, you gave me, we're thinking of how we can do maybe a series of 4 or 5 hour sessions, and they'll be all different, like,
Mhm.
uh, what would it be like that we could have one titled, 3 homeless guys go to heaven, where we could get some volunteer from the homeless community or something, to go through the process, and just to see. I think it would be interesting, because we could see, okay, why did they choose a life to be homeless, to
Mhm.
be, there, what are they learning, what are they teaching other people, but one good session would be to just to show this experience of people being in the womb. Do some cuts, have half a dozen people that agree to have the womb experience, and just to educate people. And all we're trying to do is to show people that there's so much more to life than what we think here. And once you start opening up to all this, life becomes a real adventure. You know.
It does. It really does. I know for me, like, with my food scenario that I'm going through right now, and I'm clearing some of the emotions. And so somebody said, "Why don't you clear your past lifetimes?" And I'm like going, um, "Do you realize how old my soul is?" And I know that I've had, you know like the guest that was on last week, and I'm so sorry, her name just slipped out of my mind, who was on last week.
Oh.
Uh,
Yeah.
I know, but
I know.
I don't want to dishonor her. But she did a little reading for me afterwards, and she even
Oh,
said,
it's Jessica.
Jessica, thank you. Jessica, she said that you had many lifetimes where it was not good. And I go, yeah, I don't stand in that trauma. I
Oh,
stand in the acknowledgement. So like for me, I decided I was going to eat some foods because it was too close to either being poisoned, or drugged, or you know
yeah.
or the pre-cutting off of the neck, or hanging, or whatever it was. And so with me, like smoothies, don't go down. Pills don't go down. It's like
Wow.
there's just certain things. But that's the thing about clearing up those past lives, because I've been working on it, clearing those up, you
Yeah.
know, and it's just been funny how, just kind of like, because it does help to look back what our past lives are so that we can go forward. Example would be my kid who drowned in a past life can't stand water in this lifetime. You
Yeah.
know, so doing those little dances, it does make sense. And I'm so grateful that you're going to be doing this filming with someone to help get this bigger picture out there.
Yeah. Oh, for people watching too now, there's on Gaia, which is a subscription service, but it's full of all kinds of things that'll blow your sockets. It's all about the a lot of metaphysical things. But there's a lot of good knowledge on there. And there's a new documentary out called "Hacking the Afterlife" by Richard Martini. And Richard Martini has actually filmed over 50 of the Newton sessions with different therapists. He was a non-believer until about, I think, 10 or 12 sessions in, when he's filming these sessions, and he's going, this is real. All these people, when they go under, they're having the same experience. There's a
Hmm.
protocol to what happens when when you're out of your body, and your teachers and guides, and how they, the different places in heaven that they're allowing us to visit right now. And anyway, he's done a really good documentary on, just came out on Gaia. It's called "Hacking the Afterlife." And he has interviewed many mediums, just like Natasha, until he found some really good ones. And they're on this. They're the second half of this, because the first half is about what I do, the Newton Institute, and helping people have the experience of going to the other side, finding out what their mission is in life, what they hope to learn in this life. And the second part of the actually, it's in threes. The second third in there is about mediums, and he'll tell you how he's tried to trick them every which way, until he found some mediums that were the real deal, like Natasha here. So
And yet they probably might have been the real deal, but didn't work in that category.
Yeah, it could
Or,
be.
because like for me, sometimes people expect me to know what card am I holding up.
Oh, yeah, right, right, right. Yeah.
That's not my tool.
Yeah,
That
you're not supposed to be a magician, or
I'm not. But yet at the same time, ask me about a past life, ask me, like I just did a mediumship when in a dance, because there's a place where you can go dancing outside here, and here a husband came through right in the middle of the dance place, and it's like, and I got it, everything was right on. So you never know what somebody knows, but there are a lot of fakes out there, though. There are a lot
yeah,
of fakes, or they're not as tuned in. They're on the wrong side of why they're doing this, and so
yeah,
they don't tune in to their gifts. For me, my integrity. If I didn't have my integrity, I don't think my gifts would be as clean.
yeah,
So that does help.
yeah. So I don't know. I'm learning. I've just been trying to keep it. I found that when I keep an open mind, uh, I'm much happier.
Yes.
Because I hear things that even though I've experienced a lot with all these clients I've had that have been to heaven and back, and learned so much from what the other therapists that are doing what I do are doing. There's still so much to learn, and I'm so glad I didn't shut myself off and go, oh, that's not in my belief system, so therefore I am not going to listen to anything. Yeah, I think, don't you think that God would say, hey, you know what? Learn everything you can down there. If you don't want to believe some things, okay,
Yeah.
but the more that we listen and the more we learn, the fuller your life becomes.
Mhm.
It's like being a mechanic that has 100 tools in his toolbox instead of two or three basics. You know, when problems
Exactly.
problems
Exactly.
come along in your life, you have so many tools. You can go through the same, like I would say, a spiritually evolved person who has a lot of an issue will go through the same problem that someone next to them is going through the very same problem, and the spiritually evolved person will get through it much easier with more
Mhm.
love and more understanding, and will grow from the experience more than the person that's kicking and fighting and you know and cussing at God that why are you making my life so difficult, and God's saying, I didn't make it difficult. This is what you chose, sir. You chose
Yes.
to go through this.
Exactly. We were supposed to have a guest on, but I was just emailing her to make sure that she got the link, uh,
Okay.
just in case. So that's why I
Okay.
was
Well, if
kind of
not, we'll have her on next week.
distracted from. Yeah, if it doesn't work, she said that she was going to be out doing like, I don't want to say camping or something, but she was going to be out. So I didn't know if
Yeah,
she
they
would
might
have.
not have service or wherever.
Yes,
Well, that's good if
exactly.
she's going camping. Yeah, if she's on today, it'd be great. She's just a really beautiful human being, and I think it's great. And Natasha, I wanted to thank you again uh, for helping Jessica last week, who's new to just started her business. She graduated from a psychic university. People don't
Hmm.
realize there are psychic universities.
There
These are
are.
people that realize that we all have a certain amount of psychic ability, and they know how to help you fine tune and hone that so that you can be a light worker. And she has such a. I know she's going to be great. And Natasha, I just love seeing you mentor her and give her some tools to help her get started.
Well,
Yeah,
I had somebody assist me, and why not assist somebody else?
yeah,
That, there is that dance of trusting ourselves, and the more we can get the politics out of the way, the greater gift we can have.
yeah,
Because we all have these individual gifts that we can help each other, and that's the one thing that I would love to support people with is that I'm learning there's not much I can I don't tune into, some way or somewhere. But at the same time, though, we all have this dance of life that working through things. It's amazing. Like for me being here at my friend's house, you know, her buying this house, it's like the womb. Mother Earth is the womb, and it was amazing how I walked in and I heard the house energy saying, she's here, we're so grateful she's here. But she had so much angst coming into the house,
yeah,
and this house is a lot like my house. If you don't feng shui it, it's not in balance.
yeah,
It's really out of balance. And so with that that me having the feng shui skills that I do, and then seeing the energies and that kind of thing, and her trusting me, her house is just like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And if something doesn't feel right, she's even knowing that it doesn't feel right now, so it's one of those things that, energy is energy, just like the womb, of a mother, the womb of a house, the womb of a friendship. It's amazing how things are either going to feel right or they're not going to feel right. And we got to feel it's time to really get our own truth, you
Yeah,
know?
I really believe in that. I mean, my significant other, Patty, and I, when we moved into this house, this was a rental house of hers for a while, that she had. And when the financial crisis happened in 2008, she was she's so smart business wise. And she moved out of the house because it was an expensive house. And I had to move into a smaller house and then rent this out because it rented for more than the mortgage was.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she got through with with the financial thing that happened in 2008 without losing any of her properties.
Mm.
But a lot of people they lost everything, because
Yeah.
they didn't know how to go around it. And so this house she rented for like $10,000 a month, because there were some people, I guess, who could pay that back back then. But anyway, one of the renters completely destroyed this house. So, completely. I mean, we had to spend probably $120,000 to remodel the house because of what the tenants had done. And it was just awful.
Ouch.
But we had to move in here to say, because you couldn't rent it out in the condition it was. The people who left in the middle of the night, they were some rich people, but he was a guy that had a Ponzi scheme going on.
Ah.
And people were after him, so he had to take off in the middle of the night. They left caviar here. Oh my God, we enjoyed that for months. And and even she left her wedding ring, and we had it appraised about $15,000 worth of jewelry.
Wow.
That's how they had to get out of here. So it was quite the drama. But the house was a mess. So we decided together that when we were going to do this house, we were going to build it with love. We were going to make this a place that when people came to, that they felt nurtured. The place that when we come home and we walk in the door, we want to go like, I'm in my home.
Yes.
And so I learned a lot about, it was like conscious feng shui in a way,
Mm-hmm.
In other words, we want this to be a place of love in this house, and everything. So it's funny now because we've had a number of parties, or we have family over, and to every one of them, they just say, oh my God, I just feel so good in this place.
Well,
So we know we did a good job,
Yeah, exactly. Because the house represents who the person is.
You're
Like
right.
the person who lived in this house before, my friend was saying that, the walls were gray, and they had these big furniture pieces in, and actually they were doing things, where my friend said that the end where the big pieces were doing things to block the energy. They just didn't know how to manage that energy shift. So I am so proud of you when when you do things like me walking up and down the banister, because there was a situation with the construction guy doing it, and I just walked up and down and I just said, I love you, you're loved. And after a while it was like you can almost feel that energy around, because stairways carry a lot of energy, especially if you have a door at one end and a window at the other, like she does. That that you do this energy work, and it's amazing how much the house does heal, because it is about energy. And that's where me working with feng shui, I just listen to the house.
Yeah.
I really truly just listen to the house and what it wants, where it wants to go. And there is certain corners that represent different things, but and that was what was fun about this, because she still had boxes to unpack. And me helping her go through that process was a gift, because me just holding one, going through a simple box, she was able to go through a heavier box, and just us talking, it just kind of worked together. Because the way I work with my energy is that I just flow with it, and it was just kind of like, oh, okay, can you imagine me, my gentle me, helping somebody unpack? It's not like, let's get it done, it's like, are you ready for another one? Let's try doing another one, type of thing. So it's kind of fun to, give birth, because that seems to be the theme of this show,
Mhm.
give birth to the awareness that our energies do affect other people.
Yeah. Well,
It does. And our homes affect us. You know, I can say that in the time I've been here, the 2 weeks, she's gone from telling stories to breathing and releasing stories because the house feng shuiing has released those stories. So she didn't have to keep repeating the stories. And then, me being me, we kind of talk things out. We're really good friends, sisters almost, type of thing. So we talk things out, and just working through those things does move energy forward. And I just want people to know that as they're going through changes, as they're going through this, as there's many endings, and oh, my love goes to you if you're having to say goodbye to someone. I know I had a close friend that ended up having to say goodbye to a son, and there's no greater ache, unless the only thing I can compare losing a child, grown or infant, it would be is if you lose a mate of 50 years.
yeah.
That is the only comparison, or 40 years. That is the only comparison that I can say. And you were knowing them since teenagehood, so you're with them for so long that you two were just so intertwined that a lot of those relationships that came forth during the wars,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing, that you just intertwined so much that it was hard to individualize, kind of like a child to a parent.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, like our conversation here is going from one topic to the other, but I think that's what's supposed to happen in the show is that there's so many things to talk about in life, and some of the times we may talk about the same subject many times, but it'll always probably be with a little different, you know, a little bit a different, a different focus or something. But when you said that, Natasha, what I felt led to say was that, like, I've had 3 clients in the last 6 months that have come to me because they've had someone close to them die of COVID, and they're just one of the things that's the hardest thing for them is that they didn't have closure in a way because they weren't able to be around their loved one when they were, they wanted to be there to hold them and just, when they passed or something, but they had to be like on the outside of the hospital, while their
mhm.
relatives inside dying, I mean, wow, what a thing to have to go through. Well, all 3 of them, when they got to the other side, to the afterlife, were able to have conversations with those people. Just like you helped, Natasha, like, and you helped one of my clients, Natasha, where you gave that extra, uh, uh, that little extra thing that they're, when you contacted her husband and he was saying that everything was just fine,
Mhm.
on the other side. But there is that relief of when they're there and they actually talk to their loved one that passed and they get some closure because it's almost like they get to hug them uh, goodbye. But they start to realize, well, it's not exactly. It's just like someone going on vacation, and you hug them and say, "Have a good trip, and I'll see you when you get back."
Yes,
Uh, uh,
except for there's not the physical seeing, but there's
yeah,
there can be the physical communication. And that's the thing is I love that you can bring them to their loved ones through your sessions. And sometimes people aren't able to do that because of their grief, and so that's why I like to come in, is that, like, for me, I've done a lot of mediumship for parents that their child ended up leaving early, through either drugs, suicide, or something like that, and my love goes to them, that there's nothing worse than losing a child when they make the
yeah,
choice. Because you always wonder if you could have done something different.
yeah,
And I honestly can say that anonymous, or not anonymous, but almost all all the mediumship that I have done through children who left too early, they have never said it was their parents' fault.
yeah, right. Mm-hmm.
It was never their parents' fault. Actually, they would say their parents tried sometimes too hard, which maybe pushed their relationship away from each other. But they never, no, and they saw that differently now, because
Yeah.
of the past. But they never blamed anybody. They knew that the journey that were on was their own.
Yeah, it seems to be a normal human trait that we have this huge guilt over, like, oh my gosh, it must have been some of my fault for things that happened, and again, people watching the show, if you've had a divorce or going through a divorce and you have children, um, you have to really realize that they're going through their own internal talking of what's going on. And you need to talk to them to let them know it's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
Because children, a lot of times, will take up the guilt. They'll say, oh, if I'd only been this way with my dad, or, oh, if I
Yep.
hadn't been bad and had my mom and dad fighting over, how to discipline me, and it's all my fault. You don't realize it, but the kids are quiet about that, and they take that internally, and it'll follow them into adulthood until I'm seeing them when they're in their 40s and 50s in regular therapy sessions, and they have all this guilt that they feel that they were responsible for their mom and dad divorcing. So it's great to get kids into counseling if you're going through divorce. Set up a counseling session with the whole family, and so mom and dad can talk about that. It's just issues between them, and they need to move on, and they're going to love. You got to let the kids know that they're going to, be loved still. And don't you dare, mom and dad, you set your children against the other parent. That's one of the worst things you can do, is talk about how awful your spouse was over something, and to poison your children, especially if they're young, because they take that as absolute fact, and it screws them up. So when they go visit dad, if mom, well, it could be either way. Okay. The dad talking about the mom, or the mom talking about the dad. But when they go to the other parent, it just really messes the kids up. And then I have to help them unwind all that when they're older. So really,
Yeah, and this is something and with Regan and I, we do a lot of observing in life. So that's why we're so passionate, and why Regan said it that way, because he is so passionate about seeing these adults that, it's amazing how, and I want parents to know, if I can give this to anybody, we do the better we can at the time. And when we're emotional, many times things come out of our mouths that we just don't know. We don't realize that they are, and we don't know the ripple effect.
oh boy,
And so with that when we're going through a life altering experience like a divorce, many times things come out, and our kids end up being our best friends. And I'll admit that, that even for me, that my youngest is a great communicator, and so she would sit there and she would, let me vent sometimes, because I didn't have very many friends growing, through life, so it was hard for me to vent sometimes. And I went, wait a minute, no, wait a minute, this is my child. This is my child. I can't do that, even though maybe I started, but I said, wait, I'm sorry. I need to shift this. Your dad's a great dad. He just, we're just going through something, and I just have this emotion in me that has no words to it sometimes, and I'm just babbling. There's just something that, that's the thing about life is that we can always stop. We don't have to keep going. We can always stop and say, I can do that a little differently. Remember, you are a product of your dad, you're a product of me, and you are a blessing either way.
yeah.
Because your dad's a blessing, your mom's a blessing, whoever we're talking about is a blessing. We're just having differences right now, and that's called being human.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's hard as humans, but we need to be mindful of how we are about everything we do. I mean, if you're having children, you have to be mindful from the moment of conception,
Mm-hmm.
and be mindful of, like I say, about, what you put in your body. You're growing this other human being. You have to, during the pregnancy process, since that at some point that soul's in there and can hear you and knows what you're thinking and everything. So you need to be mindful of what you say, and your emotions. And as they're growing up, as their minds are, and we've discovered through, I went to hypnotherapy school for 2 years, and we the research shows that, like I say, children between 0 and about 8 or 9 or 10 years old, somebody in authority tells them something, they take that in there as gospel,
It's
so
amazing how many truths are not ours.
I know it.
It's amazing, and that's the thing is that we're going through so much right now, and it is really time for us to gain our own truths. Check in to see what is ours and what is not ours, and
Yeah,
and there again is if I can suggest that if there's any need to do is just start just stopping and breathing for a moment before we make a reaction.
yeah, yeah, just be
Before we
mindful
do
of
it.
everything you say or do.
Hmm. Yeah, if we can, and that's practice makes better. We
Yeah,
all have these different skills at that, so practice makes better. If you realize that I could have done something different 3 days later, you just practice doing it 2 days later instead of three,
right.
or that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a poem that I read from Rumi. A lot of people know who Rumi is, Rumi. He's actually the most published poet in the whole world. And some people go, oh, never heard of him. Well, he was a Sufi master and wrote all these loving poems about God, about life and everything. And I always remember one that meant so much to me. I'll give you the gist of the poem because I don't have the poem memorized, but the poem was, he was the master, the teacher in this wagon, and his followers are on the back of the wagon. And he would be going along, and sometimes the road would get bumpy, and one of them would get knocked off into the mud, you know. And he would go forward slowly, and he would look back at them, and he would say, come on, get out of the mud, jump back up on the wagon, let's move forward. And that's life. It's like we're going along just fine, and then we fall down in the mud. But your God, this love that God has for everybody is just saying gently to people, it's okay. I know you're going
Mhm.
through a rough thing, but come on, get back on the wagon. Let's move forward. And some of us are stubborn. We just want to stay and cry in the mud and lay and wallow and scream, and get all muddy. And then we look and that wagon is way down the road and it's harder to get back on the wagon again. So what you have to realize, if you do something, screw up, just like Natasha was saying, you screw up, okay, you're a human being, and you just say, hey, I screwed up, I love and accept myself, I'm jumping right back on the wagon, I'm going to do better next time. And
Mhm.
that's the best attitude to have, to help you, move along.
Mhm.
Just don't
Exactly,
wallow
and
in the mud for too long.
yeah, it's okay to go, I fell out of the wagon, but then
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I fell out of the wagon, let me get back up and go, because we never know what the next opportunity will be.
right,
It's
yeah,
amazing. It's like, we always have this situation that it's like, even like me trying to get my meds or some stuff before I came down here. And it was like last minute, everything was coming together. And I just said, okay, instead of getting the angst, I just said, can I just have it by 2:30, before 2:30? Can I have it please before 2:30? Every time I thought of angst, can I have it please before 2:30? So I would repeat, and do this. And it's just amazing how, like my girlfriend has a saying, what's the next thing possible? What is the next thing that is possible? And then I stop my negative hearing talking by saying, I'm asking for healing on this. I'm asking for healing on this. It's like if I'm having a little dance of the negative, yeah, I'm asking for healing on this. If I'm watching something that's negative, I'm asking for healing on this. So that, those little mantras can really help us out. And I can tell you that going back to, because this is all circling back to the womb, the womb of life. What is our core thoughts? What is the thoughts that we had at the beginning? That, we can ask for healing on what we went through early. Because I know for me, working on some digestive issues, that I went back through my mother's womb, through my dad's mother's womb, because it was my dad's side that brought this scenario up, and then went back through wombs of different women along the way to do some healing. And it's amazing how when we look at life, it's just like looking at a butterfly. It starts in a womb, it starts in an egg. And then it becomes a caterpillar, and it eats information. When it's eating leaves, it's eating its information. It gets into a cocoon, and then it rebirths into a butterfly. And so it even goes back to a womb again to be able to navigate. And that's what's amazing about life is that we have always this opportunity to start again, to
Yeah.
always start again. Yes, we can still stay our core selves, yet we can practice and do a little different. Now, it may take some of our family members a little bit longer to get used to our newer practice that we're trying to do. I.e., if they're all drinkers and you decide to become sober, they have to get used to you becoming sober, and they may sabotage you a little bit, but that's called life. And there's this dance that we're doing of creating this new womb. What can we really accomplish in our lives right now? And it's amazing when we really create. It's like my girlfriend creating this new story in her house. It wasn't the house that she truly wanted, but it's becoming a home now.
Yeah.
Even just in a week of me being here, it's gone from a house to a home. But it's creating that new story and creating that new womb of growth that we're going to be in. And, we may start as an infant 3 or 4 times in this lifetime.
Yeah.
Because we're always starting something new. And it's amazing how, people always kind of punish themselves because they're starting something new. We didn't learn to walk the first time. We didn't learn to eat solid foods well the first time. We didn't learn to talk well the first time we tried to speak. Everything took a little practice, and just, be kind to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But Regan, I just want to say I'm grateful.
Yeah, me too.
I'm so grateful that you're willing to step forward and create this new story for us. That we've created a new balance, we've created a new life, and I have to stop and say I'm grateful.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much I feel it's helped me over this last almost 7 months now, 8 months we've been doing this. It's really helped me a lot. Like, a lot of times I have all these thoughts that are just all over the place, and it's helped me to kind of solidify, some of the thoughts so that I'm still learning how to communicate these thoughts, hopefully in a better way.
You're doing well. You're doing really well.
Like, in school, I went to college and all this stuff, but was never I always was analytical, but never really the intellectual, that had a wide range of vocabulary, that could impress people with the words that I said,
Mm-hmm.
But I've always been a feeling person, or, becoming more of that. And I just love that now in my older years, I'm finally getting the hang of life. It's like, with COVID and everything, we've all been thinking of our own mortality a lot more. And that's actually been a plus, because it's gotten people to be a lot more spiritual over COVID. They've kind of, the rat race they kind of jumped out of the rat race for a little bit. And look how many people are switching jobs right now, because COVID's given them that opportunity, and they realize, God, I was in that kind of, I didn't really like what I was in, but I was stuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now COVID's given me the opportunity to think about it for a little while. There's all these new jobs available coming up and things, and maybe so many people are switching, or they're realizing, what, I was really being taken advantage of, working in this fast food place. I couldn't even make my rent. Now you pay me a decent wage. And they realize they're going to go. And so that's why it's hard for them to find fast food workers right now, because they've all gone on to something that pays well.
I know. It's interesting how that application, and maybe this is what I'm praying for and asking for healing on this is that new people that come in, because their new energy can create, hey, I know I want to work, but I don't want to work for that. I need a little bit more. And so the companies, because the new people are coming in, are going to bring in new energy that may be more supportive for the greater good, to start building on, let's say, better wage, health insurance, more hours. Because a lot of those companies, they don't give people enough hours. And so with that,
because they don't want to have to pay health benefits and everything.
exactly. And so those new people are going to say, hey, You want me to work? This is what I expect.
Yeah.
And that's the grace. Or like if somebody doesn't work well in a job, and almost like if you changed positions, you might find that that person's better for your job and you're better for the other person's job because of, sometimes we get tired of working. Sometimes we get, this moment of not so comfortable of a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. I played golf not too long ago, and one of the guys was very high up in the union, in a big union or something, and he was very political. But he was talking, and now I can't confirm this, but this is someone who seemed to know what he was talking about. He said in the 1950s or so, the percentage of income that was split between the workers and the corporations was about 50 to 60% of the money made was actually going to all the workers, and the
Mhm.
40% would be going to the corporation. And now it's like about 8%,
Wow.
so that just shows you that the higher it's like greed is taken over, and the
Yeah, and that's
corporations are
what
taking so much more money, and expecting everybody else to just support them in a way. In other words, go as cheap as they can with the labor, and and they take all the profits. So we can all feel that imbalance, and like they say, the disappearance of the middle class. You know, so it'd be good if it could turn around, but you
that's
know,
actually, intuitively speaking, what I feel like COVID was here to teach us was that it takes a team.
yeah,
It really takes a team, and the it's kindness. What if we pay workers $2 more an hour instead of the very minimum wage, and there's just $2 more per person an hour out of that other part of the 90%, let's say,
yeah,
that is going to corporate. What happens to your company? That's the thing, is that people don't realize that they're cutting their own throats by
right.
having greed, that they're cutting their own throats, and it's just one of those things. That's when I'm asking for healing on this. I'm just asking for healing on this,
Well,
because
you have to have a company where the man in the mailroom is just as important as the CEOs. In other
Mhm.
words, you're all working together. Well, look at when we fought all these wars. I mean, there's the guys on the front line. They're risking their lives the most, but they wouldn't be able to do that unless they had somebody that's in a kitchen somewhere cooking their meals, like over in America, getting them canned and sending them over to them. And so, when you're in the military, it doesn't matter if you're in a support role or if you're on the front line, you're just as equal. It has to be a machine
Mhm.
that all works, properly.
Well
And
together.
we
Yeah,
have a
one
tendency
can.
to say that the only ones that are important are the guys that were right on the front line, killing the other guys, or right there risking their lives. Everybody works together that way. And so you have to have a company that's that same way. And the same in the family, the children, everybody is equal. We're all souls helping. It's like, if you're doing a play and you have these bit players, if you didn't have the bit players, you wouldn't have the whole feeling of the whole thing that's going
Mhm.
on. I did extra work in Hollywood for a lot of years, and that, a lot of directors and everything realize just how important extras are in a
Mhm.
movie, because you
They
don't
really
have the
set the
feeling of
tone,
real
don't
life
they?
unless you have that guy walking by in the street behind this guy. It's just the whole scene is dry. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
have any life to it. So I really like where some of the directors are really, really treated us extras very well, because they knew how important we were to the whole project.
That makes so sense.
Yeah.
So, Regan, we are at our time.
Yeah.
And I know that this show may have kind of woven through. We were expecting a guest on, and she was going to pop in about 10 minutes into the show, and she didn't. And so, with that something greater happened for her. I'm hoping grace and ease for her.
Yeah.
Not, that she's doing something greater purpose that she was going to have. So, with that's why our show just kind of had an ambering, lumbering through the different paths. But I just hope that everybody got something from this show, that because this is why we're here. It's a conversation, and I'm grateful for conversations. So, Regan, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, I didn't have it on the screen this time, but it's very simple. I have a website called visittheafterlife.com. Visittheafterlife.com. Really simple. I invite any of you there that were curious about some of the things we talked today about soul. I'd like to invite you to go to the website and watch some of the videos. And you'll see people going through past life experience. You'll see a young lady going through a life between life process where she actually goes to a past life and then on to the afterlife where she's able to ask questions. If you have any questions, just you can my phone number's on there. You can call or go to the contact page, put your information there. I'm giving away, actually, if you ask, I'll send you
So
that's about all of the current research being done on reincarnation. And the other one is 3 hours, 33 minutes in heaven. It's about my own personal experience on the other side. I'd be happy to send you those free. If just say you heard about it on the show, okay? And tell
so
your
that would
friends
be
about
2
this.
books, right, Regan? Because you froze, or we
I'm sorry.
froze. I
Yes,
don't
2
know whose
books.
internet froze, but
All right.
one of us froze, and so it was 2 books free if you get in
Yeah.
touch with you.
They can one or the other. If they want both, then be happy to send them the ebook versions of those. And also too, this process can be done on Zoom. I think Natasha, just like Natasha's work, for some reason the way energy works, it's just like I'm there in person, and you can do it on Zoom, or if you're in the California area, Northern or Southern California, I could see you in person, either by visiting you or having you visit me. So feel free if you have any questions. We're all on this walk, a step at a time, we go. But I also do regular hypnotherapy. Like if you have any fears, phobias, you're working through post-traumatic stress, that sort of thing. Some of the talents that I've developed, I'm able to help people in those areas also too. So just let me know. What about you, Natasha? How are they going to get a hold of you?
You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com or Natasha at angelicclarifications.com. And I'm just like so happy that my website is starting to come together and become magical. So
Good.
things are shifting and changing on that. I am one that I love to support someone through life changes. And I can tell you, going to a grocery store nowadays is a life change. And so, if you're having a hard time getting out of your house, or you're struggling with depression or sadness, or I love to support you through that. And with me talking about the feng shui, that's another aspect that I'm going to be opening up in my business too, is working through energies of the house. Because if you want to change what's happening in your life, you got to change your environment. And changing the home is one of those environments. What we look at, what we see, how things move through our house is one of those places that it changes. And we're going through so many changes that sometimes getting the house settled or things kind of feeling in place can be helpful. So with that if you're interested in that, it's not on my website yet, but yet it's coming forth. It's going to come forth. So
Yeah.
with that I just hope that everybody has a blessing of a moment. And you can reach us here. Please like or subscribe to if you're on YouTube or whatever station you find us on, that if you can subscribe or like that, please, we would appreciate that so much. But with that, we're going to sign off. And Regan, I hope that you have a blessing of a week, and I hope that everybody else, I just want everybody to know that they have angels, they have their guides with them. So if you're struggling, if you're not knowing which way to go, please take a look around you. You may have a bird that decided, or a butterfly that just flew by. They can say, you're walking into new transformations. Google what a butterfly means. Google what that bird means, or do something. Because I know for me, I just pulled a couple cards while you were talking, Regan. So we got the fire dragon energy coming forth.
Who? I do?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah. And we have protection. So we have guides, angels, loved ones that are helping us through things. But we got to be careful of the anger, because wasp means anger, that hidden anger. Why is this happening to me? Why is this always going to do? Those old stories that keep repeating. So wasp came up to say, be careful of your anger, please. Because of the fact that the fire fairy would like to create new energies, new creativity. So if you get inspired about something, trust that it might be worthwhile checking it out. So I'm Natasha Venter, and this is Regan, and we'll see you next week at 4 o'clock Pacific time on Life Clarification, or at Natasha Venter. Angelic Clarifications on Facebook or on YouTube. Natasha Venter, Angelic Clarifications on YouTube.
Yeah. See you guys next week.
Bye now.
Every Monday at 4.
Yeah, we're perfectly imperfect, obviously, through the stance. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye now.